With the release of Pokemon Sun and Moon fast approaching, trailers unveiling and information being learned, the hype for the new Generation 7 titles is at an all-time high. But despite that, there is one question that we finally got answered a while back, and that is, what will the next Pokemon games be? This question is one of the most exciting questions for any Pokemon fan, and they always ask this when a brand new game has just been released. So of course that means many fans, including myself, are already asking what will be after Pokemon Sun and Moon. So as a friendly reminder, this video does not mean that I am over Pokemon Sun and Moon. In fact, the opposite is true, but rather this video seeks to guide fans into looking for certain things when the new games are released, almost like a fun scavenger hunt. So what is my theory? Well, you probably know off the title of the video, but it looks like we may already seen our first tiny hint at a possible Diamond and Pearl remake following Pokemon Sun and Moon. And I know what you're thinking, how the heck is that already possible? We've only seen starter information and the location of the region. Exactly, it's time we look a little bit more closely at the Aloha region itself. During the starter unveiling trailer, we learned that Pokemon Sun and Moon will take place in the Aloha region, showcasing a very tropical location with a bunch of various islands. Game Freak has always based Pokemon regions off of real-world locations, such as Kalos being based in France, or Kanto, Johto, and Hoenn being different parts of Japan. It took fans almost no time to figure out that the Aloha region is clearly based around Hawaii and shares many physical features to the actual islands. Looking at this Twitter post, one fan decided to look for actual structures, both natural and man-made, that seem to cross over into the new Pokemon titles, and this is where our basis of the theory begins. Look at this boating harbor in Alola. It clearly matches up with the real-world location in Hawaii. If you guys don't know what that location is, it's actually Pearl Harbor. Most famously known for its role in World War II, I'm unsure if Game Freak will actually reference it, but the similarities are clearly there. On top of that, check out this elevated landscape. Turns out this is a real-world location too. This volcano is actually called Diamond Head, a famous park / hiking area for tourists visiting Oahu. If it's not yet clear to you where the reference is, let me repeat. Pearl Harbor and Diamond Head. The names of these locations is a stretched reference to Diamond and Pearl, and Game Freak chose to include these places in the actual region. By no means is this direct confirmation of 4th Gen remakes following Sun and Moon, but let's remember that X and Y had several tiny references to Hoenn as well, while Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire followed shortly after. Take a look at this picture for instance. Note the quoted text directly referencing Ruby and Sapphire. There's also this quote of a man referencing a Pokemon Center with a hot spring next to it, that only occurs in one place, Hoenn's Lava Ridge Town. And on top of that, some fans are even thinking X and Y had references to Sun and Moon as well, namely with Anastar's Sundial and the quote from a Hex Maniac mentioning that Moondials exist too. Plus, don't forget that strange Tiki-like item that we still don't have an official use for. Either way, it's pretty clear that Game Freak likes to put small references into new or possible upcoming games. So now let's talk about what to look for. With the very tiny grain of a possible hint of 4th Gen remakes, when the games actually release, it's important to look for some key factors that will either suggest or possibly blur the likelihood of Diamond and Pearl finding their way into 7th Gen. The first is the actual quotes and references, especially around these two locations. If we see many references to Sinnoh, more so than any other location, that will be huge. The Pokédex is also a major factor. Every generation's new title severely lacks available Pokemon from the region that the remakes take place in. X and Y featured tons of Pokemon, but the Hoenn section was mysteriously lacking. Sinnoh had their own Pokemon covered, but lacked most Pokemon found in the Johto Dex. If Sun and Moon include a bunch of new Pokemon, but lack most Pokemon in the Sinnoh Dex, it's very likely Diamond and Pearl will be released to fans, that way they can finish the National Dex without having to rely on previous generations. And one of the last things that will be very important are the new Mega Evolutions that are introduced. X and Y gave fans Mega Evolutions for all of the Kanto starters, and mysteriously gave Blaziken a Mega, while leaving Sceptile and Swampert completely hanging. Turns out in Oris, we ended up getting the closure with all 3 starters receiving Megas. If Sun and Moon pulls a similar stunt with giving us only one Generation 4 Mega, or even choosing to not have Gen 4 Megas and giving us all of another generation like Gen 2 or 5, that will be pretty convincing, as it means we'll probably see Gen 4 Mega Evolutions in the next title, possibly the Diamond and Pearl remakes. And for those who may be skeptic, you might be typing in the comments at this very moment saying, but what about Fire Red and Leaf Green? It's true, Fire Red and Leaf Green Generation 1 remakes are actually older than Diamond and Pearl, so technically they should be up next. I used to agree that we'd probably see Gen 1 remakes over Gen 4 in this new generation, but after seeing Red, Blue, and Yellow get released on the Virtual Console earlier this year, I feel like that is Game Freak's way of appeasing fans for their Gen 1 craving. Heck, if we really want to theorize that far ahead, maybe Gold, Silver, and Crystal will be released during Generation 8 to appease fans while working on a separate title. but that's quite a ways away. Now that wraps up the beginning of my theory that Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes will follow the Pokemon Sun and Moon's release date. I hope that by watching this video you've gained some insight into that possibility, but either way I encourage you to express your thoughts on that possibility in the comment section. Do you believe that Diamond and Pearl remakes will happen? Or more importantly, would you even want those remakes? I know 4th gen is one of the more controversial generations as far as whether fans love it or not, but I personally have very fond moments playing Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum and would love to re-experience those games. And that concludes this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more Pokemon content. If you want to see other videos directly related to Sun and Moon, be sure to check out my top 10 Mega Evolutions that I want to see in Gen 7, as well as my top 10 new Pokemon that I'm hoping make their way into the Sun and Moon Pokedex. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out!